All right, Andrew Douglas back here in the Action News 5 digital desk. School is back in session, and have you heard much about fentanyl? Fentanyl is unfortunately surging right now, and there are some big concerns, especially with accidental overdoses. Sometimes we'll show you video of where an officer might be exposed to fentanyl and they have to take emergency precautions. This is happening on college campuses all across America. Let's bring in someone who knows about this and this issue. David McGee back here on the Action News 5 digital desk. He's a best-selling author and the creator of the William McGee Institute for Student Wellbeing at the University of Mississippi. David, thanks for joining us again. How bad is the fentanyl issue on campuses across America? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me as always. Listen, I tell parents, do not take this for granted. Sure, we tell students fentanyl is deadly, but it's packaged in things they're not even calling fentanyl, and it is everywhere. There's not a single community, there's not a single neighborhood, there's not a single church or a school that doesn't have populations that are using or encountering fentanyl.
You know, some parents out there, David, may not have any idea what fentanyl is and why this has just gotten out of control. Can you give us a little, maybe a little history of how we got to this point?
Yeah, so it's scary, really, because when people tell me, go scare these young people, tell them fentanyl will kill them, but how that it's marketed to them is never as fentanyl. And how we reach this point is when we saw like this country develop a prescription pill addiction. Let's be honest, where prescription pills were brought to market for good reason, but then they're often overprescribed and misused. And the demand has outstripped the supply. What drug lords figured out is they can make counterfeit pills, and then they can take this inexpensive, highly potent fentanyl and sprinkle in those counterfeit pills, and then the demand even increases. So that's what we're seeing. Students will call themselves using Adderall or Percocet or Xanax. Here in Oxford, where I am, in college community, just 2 weeks ago, the police issued a warning that overdoses were rising into the community because of so-called Percocet pills laced with fentanyl. But they're not Percocet pills. They're counterfeit.
Very scary stuff, and we know that it's pervasive, and it's not just in the South here, it's all across the country. As I told you last time, my son is a freshman at the University of Mississippi there with you in Oxford, and I'm very concerned about it. I have another daughter who's at the University of Missouri. She's a junior there, concerned about her well-being. What do we do as parents to really kind of make sure that we address this issue effectively for our kids?
Yeah, that's such a great point. The most important conversation to have is to remind them that unless they get a pill from their doctor and their pharmacist, don't trust it. Do not take it. You have to assume. So the storyline always goes, we see they'll be like, well, this one came from my roommate's sister. You don't know how often I hear that story, but it's not. It's most always counterfeit. There's not many people sharing their extra pills, let me tell you. So you have to have that conversation. If it doesn't come from your doctor, your pharmacist, you have to assume it has fentanyl in it. Number two, we need to just continually have open-ended conversations with our teens and our college students. Keep the dialogue open so that we can understand where they are. And if they're if they express anxiety, if they express depression, believe them. Maya Angelou said, we know ourselves best. If they speak that, consider it truth and help them find a solution to that. Do they need counseling? Do they need better quality sleep? Help them be a part of the process to what they need. Self-medication is not the answer.
I appreciate that. So listen, I know that most college campuses, if not all of them, have some sort of wellness center, well-being center. Is that a place where every student should be familiar with that area of campus in case they run into any kind of issues? Talk more about that and about the William McGee Institute at Ole Miss.
Yeah. So, one of the great things that colleges and universities like Ole Miss have today, a lot of the work we've done and others have done, is making sure that students have the support they need, because it's not just the infirmary anymore. They're viewing the holistic education and support. And so these resources are available. And I tell parents, when you're moving into the dorm, it's never going to hurt to ask some questions or do a Google check. And this kind of conversation that you're having here is so important. Just as a reminder to us all, is the resources are there and they work, and there's no shame if your child needs them. There's no shame if you need them. A lot of us have benefited, and there's a lot of caring people out there to really help navigate students and families through.
Anything else before we let you go, David, with regards to fentanyl, mental health, well-being, college students?
Yeah, great question. I saw another study. These continue to come out that just came out this week about the rising incidence of cannabis use disorder, which is marijuana addiction. That it says, the study said that in this country, some 20% of users of marijuana, it didn't say even daily users, of street marijuana and also legal marijuana, are now facing cannabis use disorder, which is addiction and associated issues with it. That really is one of the biggest things we see with students, and it starts in high school. And they believe that, maybe because it's legal, it's not problematic. And I always say, well, alcohol is legal, but if I drink a fifth of vodka a day, how functional will I be? And they go, well, that's a good point. And that's the point I like to remind parents and students of. It's dangerous into our health, and it doesn't always deliver the results the users are anticipating.
No question about it. Great to have open-ended questions with your children constantly about all these kind of issues. David McGee, I always appreciate you coming on the Digital Desk to talk about these very important issues. We appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you.